What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as you all know, I did end up making a video about Need for Speed Heat and why that game was so special. I also ended up doing something on Burnout Paradise Remastered because I was like, you know what? It is going to be a pretty fun, chaotic racing game. It kind of fits into it. But with that though, I was also like, okay, so there's another game I need to play that was always going to be considered a Burnout type of game. That was going to be Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. I did want to go over some of the things that made this game special, but of course not so special at the same time of it. The first thing I did want to talk about for Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 is going to be the lovely map that it did end up having. We all do know Fairhaven was going to be a decent mix. Now, yeah, you could probably argue that the map wasn't going to be the biggest thing out there, but I do figure for Most Wanted, I feel like it did end up fitting the design of it. For some odd reason, I love the atmosphere of this map. I did like the way it flowed. You're going to have the fun highway areas on it. You have like the quicker like side type of roads. You're going to have like these small city type of areas and stuff like that. There's going to be taller buildings, shortcuts and stuff. It really is going to have a pretty dope mix of roads you can enjoy in it. That is going to give you the Need for Speed aspect, at least I think it does for the most part. We're then going to have something like the jack rides around the map, which I do understand that, it probably is going to be a tad mix. Not every vehicle is spawned on the map, at least when you are playing it. Some cars are going to be Most Wanted or DLC and stuff, but a majority of the vehicles are going to be found around the map, so that is probably going to give a player a big reason to go, okay, well, let me go explore every road or every area here because there could be a car in this alleyway or something that I might end up wanting. That way you can use that in the events, and I feel like that was a pretty cool thing. Like, yeah, it's not going to have a progression standpoint to where you're probably going to have to like level up, get farther into the game, get better vehicles where you could basically spawn in, find a few cool cars, and then go do some of the events and level that vehicle up, which I would say is probably a different approach to it. Funny part is, guys, I do feel like certain games are probably going to take a different approach to them to where you're like, okay, well, this isn't the same formula that Need for Speed had, or, this is not the same formula that this game did end up having in it, but I feel like in some ways players are not really liking the changes that they did end up doing, probably to really mix up that genre a bit. This can also be seen in something like Unbound with the effects and all that. We all do know not everybody likes it, but think, guys, without having any of those effects, I feel like in ways the game might end up being a tad dull. So like it kind of does make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? I don't know. I could kind of just be rambling right now, but regardless though, once you do end up finding those cars, or aka the jacked vehicles or any cars around the map, you can then do random races around the entire map itself to level that vehicle up. Get like nitrous track tires, off-road tires, short gears, long gears. You can also get like power shot nitrous and stuff like that. So it is going to be a pretty interesting way to level it. Once you get them, you can then go after like the pro versions, which is going to make them a tad better. I feel like that was kind of cool having different upgrades. You can change them on the go. Like if you are doing a race or something, you're in your favorite car, you got track tires on the road. That said area is going to have like some off-road parts in it. You could switch tires mid-race. You can also be like, okay, so I need more acceleration on my vehicle, right? You can then add something like short gears on there, have better acceleration. Then you might end up hitting the highway. You could switch to long gears, have more top speed. I do kind of like those things, man. It was really entertaining online too because you can actually be racing. Okay, so I could be faster than these other drivers if I do change this mid-race, but, and trust me though, I can definitely say I have been there a lot of times basically changing that stuff on the go, and then going, okay, I need long gears, then I run into a vehicle and boom, you are pretty much going to be slower anyways, so then you have to go back to short gears, go back to long and stuff. Definitely going to be something that you will end up having to learn in there. But I feel like that did make Most Wanted a tad special though, because like, yeah, the game's not going to have a lot of progression. I understand the entire single player part of it really wasn't even that much of a single player. You basically pick a vehicle, you get some speed points, you take down the most wanted drivers, and that is basically it. Like, I have to admit, guys, I think it would have been way better if they had a real storyline to it. That most likely would have made 2012 much better. The funny part is, after playing Burnout Paradise and stuff, I can definitely see that, yeah, Most Wanted 2012 took a lot of cues from that game. Not only is it going to be similar to like the takedown part of it, like you wreck a racer, also really does feel like Burnout in that aspect, but there is also going to be parts of the map that are very similar to Burnout, which I did laugh about. I also understand it. Maybe that's the kind of design they were going with it, like it was going to be different. We all do know we had Hot Pursuit before this game. Then we're also going to have like Need for Speed Shift and all those other games. Those are track based, so they're probably not going to be similar. But the thing is with 2012 though, they were probably trying to take a different approach, and they were probably trying to add some of the best elements of Burnout into it. But the thing is, the Need for Speed players, which I also have to agree with in a lot of ways, is well, it really wasn't the Need for Speed feeling players did end up wanting from the older Need for Speed games that they did actually have. So yeah, I kind of understand that, man. It does really make sense. And I did laugh though, once I did end up completing all 10 of the Most Wanted drivers, I was like, alright, that was cool. Then you're probably like, okay, well, what do I do now? I can level the cars up, get some stuff for them. You're most likely going to jump into online, which I would say for me is probably going to be one of the most special things about 2012 besides the single player and a few aspects there. Like, I did love the police guys, I gotta admit that as well. And the reason why I do say I really enjoyed the police in this game was probably down to the fact that your car didn't really have a health bar to it, and you pretty much can crash them, get as many heat levels as you want, increase your speed points, mess with the police, like wreck the cars easier. You can even legitimately take down the main SWAT truck that comes after you as well if you power shot into the side of it. Like, it was so entertaining. And I feel like that was something that was fun about it. Like, yeah, you don't have a health bar, you're not going to have weapons on your vehicles and stuff, but at least you can have some fun, chaotic chases with the police, lose them, and then go on and do some races as well on top of having hot pursuit events where the police do end up chasing you. I feel like it was a pretty dope design. I would like to know what y'all think about the police in Most Wanted 2012. Do you like it? What do you think about the design of them? What are some things you didn't like? I am curious to know what y'all think. But what I was talking about before, though, is going to be the multiplayer side of it. For me, I would probably say it's going to be my favorite part about Most Wanted 2012 was probably down to the fact of how the entire multiplayer was designed. You're going to have like the jumping things where you have to jump like a certain distance. You're going to have to do like drifting or something, off-roading, you know, take down other players. You're also going to have like the fastest speed or something in that area. You're then going to have like races, team races. All that stuff really was going to be insanely entertaining to me because it was basically in like an entire thing to where you might see like a speed list, like you got two team races, two races, you can make your custom speed lists and stuff. You can jump into like a match with your friends and do all the races if you want. I remember back on the PS3, guys, I was playing Most Wanted a lot back then. I think I had like almost 40 million speed points. I know it probably wasn't all that impressive, but I really did love this game's multiplayer, and also messing with the police on single player was probably going to be some of my favorite things about it. Also why I think it kind of made it special. The thing is though, I remember back then doing like an entire speed list with some of my friends that was basically only the lovely around the world event. Like legit, I would do like 5 of those. It was a great way to get stuff unlocked on vehicles because you had to get mileage to get like nitrous tires and all that, like 25, 60. You had to do like 100 miles for certain things. So if you're going to be doing an entire playlist of around the world or a bunch of random races, you are going to end up getting a bunch of mileage a lot faster in that aspect. So I found that way to be a lot easier to get upgrades and basically enjoy the cars a bit better, because we all do know if you're jumping onto the game like I did a few days ago, you are most likely going to encounter players driving Bugattis, Hennessy's, Koenigsegg's with maxed out parts, probably having like Pro Aero, Pro Nitrous and stuff like that. So yeah, you are most likely going to be at a disadvantage. The only thing is though, I did notice driving to each meetup, doing the events itself, you are probably going to level that vehicle fairly quick. I think when I was using the Bugatti, I managed to get around 30 something miles with it, and I was only playing the entire multiplayer with one single speed list, so I wouldn't say it's going to be that terrible to level them up, but it is going to take some time to do it. Now for me though, I do understand that Most Wanted 2012 did end up getting a ton of hate. I did also end up making a video about this because I was curious to know what everybody thought about it. Surprisingly, I had a lot more, like, I guess you could say, positive comments with the game itself, because a lot of players did end up enjoying it. I do admit Most Wanted 2012 was absolutely gorgeous, guys, for the year it did come out. I mean, we're pretty much heading into, what, 13 years after this game came out. That is insane, and it's still going to look incredibly good being in 2012. Gotta give credit where it is due, I mean, right? It does look like a beautiful game. Like, yeah, players probably did not like the Burnout aspects, I understand it, especially after playing Burnout Paradise more, jumping on 2012. I am definitely seeing the similarities there, not even kidding. I can definitely tell they were taking things from Burnout, putting it into Need for Speed. But the thing is, again, Need for Speed players wanted a Need for Speed game and not a Burnout one, so I definitely understand that there. But again, guys, I feel like the biggest highlight of 2012, which I feel like can work in other racing games, and even the newer Need for Speed game that will hopefully come come out one day, is going to be the multiplayer speedless design. Like, it was so dang fun. You meet up there with a bunch of people. Again, everybody can have a mic and stuff. I remember meeting a bunch of people, being in public lobbies, talking to them, racing against them, going, yo, bro, I beat you last race. He's like, nah, I'm going to beat you this race. And what I found funny from that is you might end up making some great friends, or you might end up making some enemies from it. But either way, having those chaotic lobbies really were so dang entertaining. Again, guys, I could definitely see why the entire Burnout take on this game didn't really work, especially after playing Burnout and then jumping back on 2012 a bit. I was like, okay, I see this, I see that being an issue. Being able to be taken down like that, also like the entire single player not existing. I would say they definitely nailed the multiplayer part of it, which is again probably my favorite thing about 2012. I would say right now probably joining a lobby is going to be insanely difficult, or at least not all that easy to do, because not everyone is playing this game still, but I would probably guess you can most likely find a few people here and there if you did want to play it. I just feel like, guys, in a future Need for Speed game, I might talk about this in a different video, I feel like it really could benefit from the entire speedless design. And I do feel like some of the Need for Speed games after 2012 did end up trying to have something similar to it, but it just never really hit the same. I feel like if the newest Need for Speed game had something like this, guys, in the multiplayer side of it, it really could be so dang fun if it was designed correctly. Besides all of that, though, do let me know in the comments below what y'all think about Most Wanted, what made it special, but also what made it not so special in different ways. I do feel like we can all agree the overall gameplay, the map and stuff was great. Driving was going to be entertaining. Yes, this game is obviously an arcade-based racer. Who would have thought? But I feel like one of the biggest issues players had, it was more like a Burnout type of game and not a Need for Speed game.